Hello and welcome back. It's puzzle time with Sudoku Sleuth, and I can see that this is actually quite dark and I should fix the lighting immediately. Hopefully that is a lot better. And we're back with 3x3 minis. Now, I do get a little bit excited whenever I come across a highly rated Sir Moose puzzle. I've always absolutely adored Sir Moose's puzzles. They're quite clever. They take a lot of thinking to essentially make some progress, particularly his more challenging ones. Thankfully, this is a 1-star difficulty rated, which is exactly what you need to wrap up a nice week on a Friday. Anything else to mention before we take a look at today's puzzle? No, I don't think so. Let's have a look at the rule set. 3x3 minis by Sir Moose and the following set of rules. Let me just double check. Is that visible? Yeah, it is visible. Fantastic. Normal Sudoku rules do not apply. Was not expecting that. I should have read the rules beforehand. Place the digits 1 to 9 in the grid so that they do not repeat in any rows or columns. Digits can and will repeat in each of the 3x3 boxes. Each box will use exactly 3 of the digits 1 to 9. Right, now I'm getting this. We've come across a puzzle like this once before. All right, so let me just explain what I think this means. We will place the digits 1 to 9, once each in every row and every column. However, in each of these boxes, we're going to have essentially a subset of that list. I might have the digit 1 3 times, and you can see it's not throwing up any errors about this. Might have the digit 3 3 times, and let's say the digit 6 3 times. And this would be a perfectly valid fill, obviously given all the other rules, for this particular box. There is only the digits 1, 3, and 6 once in rows 2, once in columns 5, but 3 of each in box 2. Okay, entropy rows. Oh wow, we are going all in today. So entropy rows, we've got every 3 consecutive cells along each row must contain a low digit, so 1, 2, 3, a high digit, 4, 5, 6, sorry, excuse me, a middle digit, I don't know how I misread that, and a high digit, 7, 8, 9. And obviously it doesn't have to be the case that every row is different, sorry, every row is the same, so it doesn't even have to be in this order. Just happened to be that I read it out this way. This one could absolutely be in a very different order. I could do high digits, I could do low digits, and then middle digits. The key thing to remember is that every 3 cells in the row, so if this is low, this is middle, and this is high, well, this will absolutely have to be high, same to this one, so that 3 cells have 1 of each. So just keep that in mind. Then last, of course, is digits along an arrow summed to the number in that arrow circle. So these 2 cells will come up to a value, and whatever that value is, I have to be able to write in here. So for example, if this is a 4, 5 pair, this would be a 9, because it's the sum of whatever the 2 digits are that are on the arrow inside the arrow circle. This is going to be absolutely fascinating. I'm really looking forward to solving this puzzle. I hope you are as well. As always, to play along, link in the description down below for you to do so. And with that said, I'm going to restart the clock and see how I get on. Right, as I was walking you through the rules, I think there's quite a few things that occurred to me that I'm going to just explain, because I think we kind of almost have to think about the puzzle's rule set holistically to even have a chance of actually trying to attempt this particular puzzle. So what I think is happening because of the entropy rows is that every box has 1 digit from 1, 2, 3, 1 digit from 4, 5, 6, and 1 digit from 7, 8, 9. Now, because the rules explicitly say that each box will use exactly 3 of the digits 1 to 9, and each row has to have 1 low, 1 middle, 1 high, whichever one you pick for low, whichever one you pick for middle, whichever one you pick for high, is essentially the ones that will repeat in the rest of this box. I think that makes sense. Now, one thing I remember about these types of puzzles, and I was very particular about the way I was actually trying to fill this, is that to preserve the fact that there are no repeats in the rows and no repeats in the columns, you'll immediately notice that once, let's say that you picked this particular cell as middle, there's actually very few patterns where you're going to be able to actually completely use that that item, that digit, I don't know, let's call it B, or let's just call it yellow. To use yellow 3 times in this box without repeating it in the rows or the columns, there's really only 2 ways. You're either going to do yellow this way, or you're going to do yellow this way. Any other setup, you're going to end up repeating it in the row or the in the row or the column. So you end up with whatever is in the middle section in the box on the diagonal, and then you'll end up with kind of a pattern that looks pretty much always like this, to avoid repeating in rows and columns. Now, is that entirely true? I just want to look. I think with the middle digit, I think it's fairly obvious, because in essence, the middle digit. Let me just kind of walk you through the why. I cannot place them in any of the remaining crosses because that's in the same rows or columns. Then I have to pick one of these 4 cells, and whichever one I pick, the other one, because it just basically blocks the same row and column, has to be in the opposite diagonal. So this is true. So if whatever's in the middle can only be either this diagonal or this diagonal. Now, of course, once you pick one of the diagonals, whichever one you pick as, let's say, blue, well, that's knocked out these 2. You can see that in this row, I can only have one of these cells. But more importantly, let's continue with the gray fill outs to sort of show you the more obvious part. Because I need one in this row so I can actually have 3 repeats. It has to be this cell, which removes this cell, and therefore it has to be this cell. So you always end up with this kind of very strange pattern that will basically repeat all the time. Now, let's just show you the kind of the opposite pattern, which is when a diagonal is in this way, and then that could be blue, and then that could be red. So literally, other than, of course, that the colors could be swapped around, every one of these boxes is going to be one of these patterns. Okay. How is all of this helping me? So, right, take a look at box 6 on how that's helping me. It is absolutely obvious that 6 cannot be this particular diagonal setup. So just always pay attention to this diagonal, this central cell. So if this central cell played this diagonal, we're saying that these 2 cells sum to itself, which is impossible. We're not placing zeros, they're the digits 1 to 9. So in essence, this particular pattern, I'm going to actually use grays. This pattern, this box, is what I'm trying to say, is this pattern for box 6. And we know that for certain. And now I also know that the bigger digit is the one in the arrow sum, because I'm summing up 2 different cells, a low digit and a middle digit, to a high digit, since I have to have a red. So in this particular case, this is red. I don't know which one is low and which one is middle just yet, but I know for certain that this is what it looks like in box 6. Now we're going to keep going with the other boxes and keep having a think around those, because I think the shape of these arrows is actually going to help us somewhat. So I think box 6 is kind of obvious because of the diagonal. Boxes 1 and 4 are interesting because they're self-contained. These are going to get a little bit more difficult, so I'm going to come to them, frankly, last. Actually, no, box 9, same challenge, with if the diagonal is this way, we're actually saying A plus definitely a different digit, or another digit, is equal to A. And we know it's not 0. So again, the diagonal in here has to be this way. Notice I'm using kind of the grays here just to kind of understand the pattern. And therefore it's something like this and that, roughly. And in this particular case, I know that the lighter gray is actually bigger than the medium gray here. But unfortunately, I don't know too much more about it. I just know that it's following this pattern. And I'm going to stick to the grays just to remain neutral. So the grays do not translate to the same digit across here. So ignore that, but it just helps me figure out what the pattern looks like. Right. What are we doing in here? I think once again, the diagonal helps us. I cannot have some digit plus A equal to A. So the diagonal in here is actually this way. Then we've got, that, then here. And I know that medium is 2 times gray. And I know that obviously medium is either yellow or red, but it has to be an even digit because it's 2 whatever light is. And therefore this is either 2, 3, or 4. So this is low or medium, and this is medium or high. I don't know too much else at this point. Right? And then of course I can repeat the same logic in here. It's very much box 4 and box 1 have the exact same logic. This is the pattern. This is, let's say, medium, and this is dark. So this is again 2 times medium, and once again this is 4, 6, or 8, and this is 2, 3, or 4. Okay. What? Of course, I'm not paying attention. Entropy. So I know which one is high in kind of this setup. In rows 4, 5, and 6, I actually know where red is. So red in this particular case, right, so the pattern has to repeat because the low, medium, and highs are established in box 1. But essentially the pattern has to repeat for the rest of it, for the entire row. So I know that black in here is actually red. I know again, this is red. And because this is high, this has to be yellow because it's the larger of the two. So this is yellow, telling me that it's definitely not 8. And this is blue, telling me that it's definitely not 4. It's 2 or 3. And then I can literally repeat this again for the rest of kind of this block, as in rows 4, 5, and 6. I'm sure there's a name for this, by the way, whatever, kind of this setup. This tranche, this block of 3, I don't know. Anyway, so that's low. You can see what I mean about the mastery of Sir Moose. He is absolutely fantastic as a constructor. What else do I want to say? You could do so much. The man is an absolute genius. He is an absolute genius. Right, repeat the pattern that is in box 1. It's telling me, and I'm going to deliberately use kind of neutral grays. This is black, just repeating what's in box 1. This is low or sort of light shade, and this is the medium shade. Now, I know that these two cells, these 2 black digits, add up to a middle digit. So, and these 2 are the same digits. So once again, this has to be even. This is 4 or 6. Once again, black has to be 2 or 3 because it's 2x this. So I can replace this black with blue, and therefore this is 2 or 3. More importantly, because this is no longer blue, I've used my blues in box 1, this is yellow, and it actually gives me a digit. It gives me a couple of digits. So this is not 2 or 3, this can only be 4, and therefore this can only be 8. And I can replace medium grey in the top tranche with red. 4, 6 pair in here, that's got to be a 5. This can't be 1, but it could be 2 or 3 to get to 7 or 8. Obviously 1 would get me to 6, which doesn't work because this has to be from 7, 8, 9. That gives me a 2, 3 pair, which gives me a 1 in here. And obviously, I don't know, I'm not thinking. You repeat the 4s, you repeat the 5s, you repeat the 1s. Lovely. Don't know the 7 or 8. This 2, 3 is actually different from this 2, 3 because this is 4 or 6. And I have different digits in here and therefore different digits in there. Not sure if that's useful. We'll come back to that. Anything else I want in here? Of course, 8, 8. Repeat the shades in the lower section. That's kind of what I missed in here. So the diagonals are all this way. Light, then medium gray, then dark gray, black, whatever you want to prefer. So I have whatever medium gray is, I have 2 of them. This time I have 2 different digits because they're across boxes, adding up to light. Just because they're different boxes, think about this. We probably have enough information from the columns to understand what's going on. So one scenario is that this is blue, in which case this is 2 or 3. This is 1, 2, or 3. And they have to be different, remember, otherwise we'd end up with repeats in the same row for sure, because this cell is repeating in here, so they have to be different. So it's like my guess is it's either low or medium. I'm not going to get 7 and 8 adding up to a single digit. So they have to be the same color, just remember that. So if this is 2, this can't be 2, but it also cannot be 1 because this is a different color. It's going to have to be 3. So 2 and 3 gets me 5. That's not going to work. 3, well, again, well, actually, it can be 1. I could do 3, 1, and 4. So sadly, that's an option. But 2 just does not work. So 3 and 1 works. 3 and 2 doesn't because it gets me to 5. So this is sadly an option. Now, presumably, there is another option. I'm not thinking. Come on. Sleuth, Sudoku, 4 and 5. This is 6. This is 5. Whatever yellow is in here, it's 4. So this is very much on the table right now. Now, the other possibility is that this is medium, in which case, because the medium in here has to be 4, as in if it's yellow, it can't be 5 or 6. I've already placed them. It would have to be 4. And over here, it can't be 5, and it can't be 4. I can't repeat the 4. It would have to be 6, and then 6 and 4 would be 10. I'm not going to be able to write it. So this is forced. This is 3, this is 1, this is 4, and I have my colors. Down here, low or light is yellow, medium shade is blue, and dark or black is red, and we have all of our colors. What an absolute genius puzzle. That's 2, that's 3, that's 1. I think the rest of it I can literally just fill in, can't I? That's 2. That means this is 3, this is 1, This is 3. That can't be, that has to be a 2 and now. That tells me that's 7. 7 and 8, that tells me this is 9. This is 7. And we're basically done. That's telling me this is 4 because it's a double 2. This is telling me this is 6 because I've got 7 and 8. That's telling me this is 9. I've got 4, no, hang on. I've got 7 and 9. Seeing this, so this has to be 8. This has to be 9, and we're done. It's just literally just, I'm not going to call it Sudoku, but funny Sudoku, to literally just type it all in. I can tell you, I absolutely loved this puzzle. This was phenomenal. A masterpiece. Well done, Sir Moose. Genius, genius to witness. I hope that you guys had anywhere near as much fun as I've had. If you have, you'd be delighted. You'd be thinking, this is the start of a great weekend ahead. And thank you, Sir Moose, for creating this fantastic puzzle for us to all enjoy. See you back soon. Bye-bye for now. Oh, I say bye-bye for now, but like I haven't actually set up anything to say bye-bye for now. Sorry about that. Bye-bye for now. I don't know what I'm doing. You know, I should stick to publishing regularly because then I'll be a little bit more prepared. Bye.